Yeah, it's the UC Davis fight song as we are so excited to be joined by Coach Tim Plough of UC Davis. Coach, thanks so much. We're so close to football season. I think everyone's getting fired up about it. How you doing?
Hearing that fight song just got the juices flowing a little bit. Like, I'm ready to go now. That's awesome.
Heck yeah. Of course, you were a quarterback there at UC Davis, coming back for your first head coaching job. Got to be exciting to come back. More than 11 years on that campus for your life. What was it like coming back and walking into the head coach's office and saying, "Okay, the keys are mine. Here we go"?
I mean, for me, it was a little bit of just manifestation. This is just something. When I started coaching, I just remember thinking, I'm going to be in that seat one day, and it's funny, like right when the opportunity came, there's all these other flashy opportunities, that are trying to take me away from it. And I remember sitting down with my wife and we were just like, I mean, we're not going to say no to this job. I mean, this is what we've always wanted, so a little bit surreal, very emotional, but this is where I've always wanted to be. So, I'm very grateful for it, for sure.
What made it emotional? I mean, obviously you're from the area. Berkeley's not that far away. You're coaching there in California last year. What was the emotions like?
My playing career didn't go the way I wanted to when I was here. I had some injuries, just never really manifested to the type of quarterback I thought I was capable of being. And there were guys here like Bob Biggs and Mike Morosky and Lou Bronson and Jim Soker, guys that had coached here that thought there was something that I could bring as a coach, and they really believed in me. And so I always felt connected to them, and, just to know that I have their support. Now I'm in that seat, it's always an emotional thought for me I really am thankful for them. They really got me to this point. And so I want to do a really good job, and I want this place to be successful so that, we can keep the standard where it's been for a long time.
We'll mention you were an alumni there, UC Davis quarterback, 03 to 07. I read an article about you coming in, and I never heard it quite explained. Someone's all four ligaments exploded in your knee, and you had to have obviously a major injury, major setback for your career. What was it like being a player with high expectations in the home state and then having an injury like that?
Yeah, it was not something you can really prepare for. I was the first full scholarship football player in Davis football. So we had gone Division II powerhouse. Now we're going to Division I, and here comes this flashy quarterback, and all of a sudden it's, hey, not only is it you're injured, but you may never play again, right?
Wow.
Like it's your ACL, MCL, LCL, PCL all in one move, like every ligament, and so I just, the thought process when you're that young of, well, how am I going to do this? And 18 months of rehab and you're back. And I just, it definitely took something out of me. And that's why I've always really had a close tie to mental health, because I know mine was not in a great place when I was playing here. And the only reason I was able to get through it was because I had good coaches that cared about me. But I think nothing can prepare you for that. But in hindsight, I think it helps me be a better coach, because I can understand what guys are going through and know that every single guy's got his own journey going on, got his different thoughts, and so it's helped me be a coach, but it was painful for sure.
Yeah, it sounds awful, and obviously it sets you up around great people who saw something in you. You had a nice coaching career, getting the opportunity to be the head coach now at UC Davis. What were your top priorities coming in as you were hired in December after the season ended, the 7-4 2023 campaign? What were your top priorities coming as the head coach?
I think first you want to be able to establish an environment. Like, what environment do you want to create? For me, the environment has always thought about, I want an environment where people can do their best work. And so I wanted to establish that early on, that this will be an environment where you can be your best. And after that, it was, looking at our roster, taking a feel of where we were as a team. We were, I think at this point, Dan Hawkins done a great job building up the program, but I do feel like the team after last season, there was some disappointment. And, I think they know they're a good team, but that belief can get shattered a little bit when you're not getting to the playoffs, not getting to where you want to be. So I just wanted to build confidence back into them that, hey, we're going to set you up to be successful. We're going to train you guys and teach you how to win, and hopefully find joy in the process of doing that.
I mentioned you were up the road as a tight end coach in California at Berkeley. Did you get a chance to be around the program at all last year at UC Davis? Or were you just too busy with the Bears?
We had one really cool moment in August last year where we were going to go play North Texas to start the year for Cal. It was going to be hot.
Yeah.
So J Dub, Coach Wilcox, was looking for a way to get the guys in a heat practice. So I said, hey, why don't we go to Davis? It's always 110 out there. So we brought the whole team out to Davis to do a scrimmage on the stadium here in Davis with the whole Cal team because it was going to be hot. So we pulled up the buses, and they had a big picture of me on the scoreboard just to make fun of me being the former Davis guy. So, but it was fun.
Of course. Well, they did have a tough year last year, on the cusp of making the playoffs. The loss to Northern Arizona, I think, was something that people will point to as something you just can't have happen. 4 turnovers. It was a tough game. But as you turn your focus onto 2024, what change do you want to see immediately that maybe some of the fans were missing last year on this Aggies football team?
I think just, what is our goal? Our goal is to try to win the conference, and so if that's our goal, then every single day we have to put down a block towards that foundation of what it's going to take to win this conference. It's so difficult to compete in the Big Sky. And you already said it. I think our team was well aware, like, hey, we did beat Sac State at the end of the year. That was a great win, but you can't lose the games to Eastern and to Northern Arizona. Are games you got to win, and especially home games. You got to win your home games, and you got to be able to go on the road and win in tough conditions. And so I just making the mindset about, hey, what's our process to winning those football games? What does winning football look like? And making sure we don't leave it up to a committee. Let's make sure we do everything we can so that it's an obvious choice and it's not up to a group trying to pick between one team or the other, because that can always go any way you want, right? So,
right. Well, coming from, you've obviously played at the FCS level, a little different FBS level with the bowl games. Now you're back at the FCS. Do you have a thought on how the playoff system pans out in the postseason for both? Now you go into a 12-team playoff at FBS. Still nothing like FCS playoffs, though, in my opinion.
I mean, I've always loved how FCS does it, and I think when I first was coaching in the FCS, it was only 16 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they bumped it to 24, I thought that was perfect, because I just feel like you're going to get the best quality teams in there, not going to leave anybody out. And the best at the end of those things, you're going to see the best teams make it, right? And I'm really excited for the FBS because I think that's been long overdue. To get every team in there that's deserving of doing it, to see a group of 5 team get in there and make a run at it, like we've always seen from that aspect. But yeah, I've always loved the way the FCS does it. I think it gives something for our guys to shoot for. I mean, they know in this conference, there's a good shot they're going to take 3 or 4 teams every year. So we feel like if we can be in the top third of the Big Sky, then you got a shot to be there.
Pick number 17 in the preseason poll, just recently coming out, 18th in the stats, preseason 4th in the Big Sky. You got 5 or 6 teams in these national polls coming out. This is in my opinion, could be the best conference in the FCS. I mean, CAA's had made its mark, and then the Missouri Valley's got its mark. But this is a tough conference coming in. You're looking at this; it's a bit of an uphill battle. What's just your thoughts on the overall conference?
I've always been just really, really in support of the Big Sky. I just think it's got elite coaching. That's always been the thing that jumped out to me. I was a younger coach trying to make my way. And I just know this conference is full of guys like that, young coaches that are hungry to show how good they are. And so the schematic advantage that you get from a week-to-week basis, I mean, if you're coaching defense in the Big Sky, you are going to see a different offense every week from a really smart coach that's trying to make a name for himself. And same thing on the other side. So it's been the coaching always stands out to me. And then there's great players. There's NFL players in this conference, has been for a long time. And so I just think week to week, you are in for a dogfight. I mean, I look at the conference all the time and see, Ed Lamb at Northern Colorado. There might not be a coach I respect more than Ed Lamb. I mean, for what he did at Southern Utah. And if you don't think you're going to play them and they're not going to be ready to play just because they got picked, whatever they got picked. I mean, same with Paul Wolf at Cal Poly. He won the conference at Eastern. I mean, you got great coaches at all these programs. So I just think
You got to
I
come up
think
with another coach that's not named after an animal, though, Coach.
no doubt that's true. We got to find something. Well, Paul Wolf against Ed Lamb. The Wolf should win that one, I would
I
think.
think so. I think you're right. And of course, the Lamb family is legendary in Georgia down here. I mean, they have a great history. But yeah, you're right. Big Sky has got great young coaches, and a dear friend of yours is a head coach here. And does that play into you coming in and you circle that date and go, okay, this is going to be fun?
No doubt. I think that was definitely a weird moment initially when I sat down with him, because we'll hang out all the time. Our families are really close, so part of it's really cool that my best friend lives 20 minutes away from me, so
Love
our
it.
families can see each other. But yeah, I'm rooting for him to win every game except for one on the schedule, and I know when that game comes up that him and I are going to do everything we can to beat each other, and when it's over, we'll give each other a big hug either way. But there's no one I respect more than Andy Thompson, and I hope he feels the same way about me. But it's that's going to be a fun one. It's going to have an added element to a great rivalry now to have that going on.
No doubt. Okay, let's take a look at your team here. Offensively, you return key components. Running back Land Larison, Big Sky Offensive Player of the Year, 15 touchdowns last year. Trent Hopkins, your leading receiver, returns, a dynamic athlete. 3 starters on the offensive line. Coming back, you have is it Simonson, the transfer from Nebraska?
Yep.
And Nava's coming. You've added a transfer out of San Diego State. Veteran quarterback Miles Hastings returning. What are some areas that you need this offense to improve upon to pick up more points? That's really where I think the Aggies last year just were on the cusp. You can't score 25, 26 points per game. You got to be closer to that 35, 30, 40 points per game in the Big Sky.
No doubt. I think you hit on the head. Offensive line wise, we lost 2 great players that graduated, and Jake Parks and Jordan Ford. They'd started for 4 years, some of the greatest to play here. So got to replace the interior of the O-line. We feel like we got some young guys that are in the program that can do that, but we also brought in, like you said, a transfer from San Diego State and Mirabella, and another transfer from Stony Brook and Jace Rodriguez. We feel like both those guys can help us shore up the interior of the O-line. You talked about Land. And as special as Lan is, we got a running back behind him in Mateo that's really good. So both those guys are great running backs in our conference. Trent obviously adds a great target. I think Sam Batu is a young receiver that played last year as a freshman that has had a good camp. We're really hoping he does some good things. And we got a transfer from Boise State and Cole Wright that'll add some depth there. And then, having a veteran quarterback like Miles. I recruited Miles out of high school. I was here when he got here, and I got to spend 1 year with him. And part of me really feels bad that I didn't get to spend 4 or 5 years developing Miles. But he's had some ups and downs, man. Was an all-conference player, had some tough years too. So I'm really happy for him that he has a chance here. In his 6th year to leave a legacy here with his program, and I think he's going to have a good season. It's good to have a veteran quarterback. So we just need to be consistent. We got to create explosive plays, and you got to score points to win in this conference. I mean, it's just you're not going to be able to win a lot of close games in the 20s. I mean, you gotta put points on the board, and so we're gonna have to figure out ways to do that and support our defense.
I'm going to read some stats out to you. Just kind of give me a quick fire, immediate reaction. These are stats from last year. 3rd down conversions, only 38% for your offense. That's 9th in the Big Sky, 59th in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you got to stay on the field offensively. You got to have a plan. For my mindset has always been the best way to convert 3rd down is to avoid 3rd down. So just get explosive plays on 1st and 2nd down. You won't have to deal with 3rd down. But like that number to be obviously 45 to 50%.
Right.
That's what winning football teams do. So definitely an area of improvement for us.
10.4 yards per passing completion. That was 11th in the Big Sky, 99th in the country. It's an area you probably want to improve as well.
I think it just goes back to, creating explosive plays. Obviously we've been in this offense for a long time, even going back in Davis and our connection to the West Coast system and all that. And you're going to attack teams horizontally, obviously, but we got to be able to throw the ball over people's head. We got to create explosive plays. You can't depend on 10, 12, 14 play drives. That's been definitely an emphasis for us offensively, is to figure out more ways to get some explosives.
Talked about rebuilding the middle of that offensive line. It's not all bad, Coach. Sacks allowed, 1st in the Big Sky, 7th in the country last year. Big offensive line. You feel like that's an area that you could be able to maintain that kind of keeping that quarterback upright?
Yeah, and I think sacks comes down to quarterback play too. I mean, I've always felt like sacks are on the quarterback, not the O line.
Okay.
So if I think that shows again Miles' ability, being a veteran quarterback, being on time with his progressions, getting the ball out of his hand, and then obviously having some veteran tackles there shows up. So that's a pleasing stat and one I hope that we can continue.
Red zone offense, eighth in the Big Sky, 41st in the country, only clicking about 83% there in the red zone.
Yeah, I think the thought process has to be again that you have to be able to run the ball when everyone
Hmm.
knows you're going to run the ball. So if you're inside the 5 yard line, you got to be able to run the football into the end zone, and then you got to be able to be creative, in the red zone fringe and areas to find unique ways to get the ball in there. And we've always been good at scheming some stuff up to hopefully help our guys be successful. Not going to win games in the conference kicking field goals though. You gotta figure out a way to get in the end zone.
Fewest penalties in the Big Sky. Obviously, you want to keep penalties off the board. They were number one in the Big Sky, 12th in the country last year, and that obviously a great statistic for the Aggies.
I think it just shows our guys are always going to be disciplined here. The type of kids we recruit because of the high academic program that we have and the status of that. And I just think, that's always been a high mark for Davis is that we're going to play the right way, going to play disciplined. I know Coach Hawk's always done a great job of making sure his teams were disciplined. So that's not a shocking stat there.
All right, let's take a turn to the defense. Stout against the run last year, top 20 defense in rushing, stingy on third down. Zach Kennedy returned 6'6", 275 pounds, as well as Bearden and Torrey. Talk about this Aggie run defense and what you need it to be this year.
I think Matt Coombs, our defensive coordinator, has done a great job ever since he got hired. I was probably the best recruiting job we did was to be able to keep him here as our D coordinator. I feel really good about the depth we have at D line. I just think Zach and Evan and Toki are going to be able to be stout up there for us. Our big concern is in the linebacking core. We've lost Teddy Buchanan as a transfer, and we're really happy for him. So just being able to shore that up, we got some guys transferred from Cal Poly and a guy transferred from Cal that can hopefully help us in the linebacking core to keep that run game where it is. But I know that's been a staple for Matt and his defenses. We got to stop the run, make teams one-dimensional, make them play left-handed, and go from there.
Well, you got a two-time Big Sky selection. Rex Connors, a big stud on that secondary. However, the passing game was an area, 8th in the Big Sky, 88th in the country, allowing over 230 yards per game in the passing game. What's going to be your approach to limit some of those yards?
Well, we got to create pass rush. I think as good as we've been against the run, being able to get home without having to pressure is always a sign of a good defensive front. If you can rush 3 or 4 and get home, that's a good sign. And then, I know in evaluating our team, a lot of the passing has to go with, the corners and improving our coverage at the cornerback position. Feel like we've done a good job of that in camp. Again, we got to transfer Tyson McWilliams coming in at corner to hopefully help us there. But I felt really good about the safety position in the back end with Rex and Schamberger and Kavir Baines and guys like that. And I think we're going to have some improvement at the corner position. So hopefully we can get more pressure and be a little tighter in coverage in the corner spots.
You mentioned Matt Combs. Your offensive coordinator is new to the program this year, Paul Shelton, and this is what I love about the FCS. You get a look at the guy's bio and coached in Knoxville last year. His bio pictures, I think him and his daughter standing by the lake and just you just don't get that at the FBS level, and I love it because this young coach is going to get a chance to shine. What did you see in him that said, okay, he's a fit here?
Probably the hardest thing for me was to figure out what I wanted to do with the offensive staff because, I'm going to be involved in the offense, but I can't be involved in the way that I normally had been. And so I needed someone I could trust. Paul coached here at Davis in that 2017, 18, 19 timeframe and was coaching tight ends and helping out with special teams. Him and I became really close. Our families became close. Such a really good person and a great leader. And, for him to choose to, again, his hometown is from Tennessee, and it was a hard recruiting pitch to get him and his wife to come back out here. For him to have that faith in me and Davis to come out, I just love his leadership. I love who he is as a person. I'm really excited for him to get his hands around the offense and let that offense reflect the personality that he has, I think he's going to do a great job.
Great. Well, you talked about a little bit earlier about your mental health may not have been where it needed to be after a big injury as a player and maybe not meeting the expectation. You are a mental health advocate. So what approach do you take personally to continue to protect your mental health? You're in a very stressful, not only are you a first time head coach, you're back at your alma mater. You don't want it to go badly, and then you're, so what are you going to be doing, and how are you preparing to protect your mental health as the ups and downs of college football season, happens?
I appreciate the question because when I was here at Davis in 2018, we won the Big Sky. We were scoring a bunch of points, and that was when I felt like I was at my worst from a health wise because we were scoring points, and now it was like, well, how the heck am I going to do that again next week? So every week it was kind of building up, and so at that point I've kind of built a routine for myself. I wake up early. I'm an early riser, get some meditation in, get a workout in, and just continuing to talk to our team about that. It's about detaching from results. It's about focusing on the process it takes to be really good, and knowing that if we put in the work and put in the time, we have to feel comfortable with what the result ends up being. We don't want to lose games. We all want to win, but that's a real ordinary thought to me. Like, everybody wants to win. How do we win? And so it's just influencing our team the best way we can, putting them in a situation to be successful, and just knowing from my standpoint that I love this place so much. I'm going to put every ounce of energy and effort I have into coaching this team as well as I can, telling these kids I love them. And I have faith in the process because it was taught to me by a lot of the guys here. And I know that if we do it the right way, I think the wins will come.
Well, we're looking forward to watching this UC Davis team on the field as the season approaches, Coach. And here in 2024 at the FCS Checkdown, we're going to ask each coach, give me your victory formation call. What's it going to sound like when you guys, the clock is running down, you got the lead, you got the football? What's it going to sound like?
Victory. That's what it's going to sound like right there. It's almost straight out of Entourage, right?
It certainly is, Coach. It has been a real pleasure. We really are looking forward to seeing all the teams in the Big Sky, but UC Davis is a team that people are keeping their eye on because they missed the playoffs last year, and you just kind of feel like there's something special happening with you being the first-year head coach, coming back to alma mater. The story writes itself, and we hope it has a happy ending. I really appreciate you taking the time this afternoon.
No, I appreciate you, man, for covering the FCS and everything that you do means a lot. So appreciate the time. Go Ags.
Well, we know the FCS doesn't get the coverage it needs, so we're going to keep covering you guys as the season continues. We look forward to talking to you throughout the season. Coach, thanks so much. We'll say go Aggies, and we'll return here with Brandon and Coach Jackson to continue on the FCS Checkdown. All right. Awesome, Coach. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. Great job, great interview, and we do look forward to talking to you as the season continues. Best of luck to you guys, and stay healthy and well.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I meant what I said. Thanks for all you do for covering FCS football. It's important to have some people that support it and get it out there. So I appreciate what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we can ever do anything, please let us know. We'd love to help out.
Sweet, awesome,
Coach.
Have a good one.
Take care. We'll see you.